Good evening. Hope everybody is doing well tonight. I apologize if my audio gets off a little bit tonight as far as the loudness of my voice. I'm going to try to keep track of it. The headphones and me are not going to work out tonight. They bother my ears, and for some reason, just in prepping for the show, putting them on, they were just tearing me up. So, So, again, my apologies if I get a little too close, get a little too far away from the mic. I normally like to monitor that through my earphones, or my headphones, but I've got a lot of stuff to cover tonight, and I mean a ton of stuff to cover tonight. We've got a well-loved political prisoner by the name of Emmer that was arrested this morning, and some of the charges that they put on him were absolute BS, and so I want to discuss that. News has just came out a little bit ago my way about how I guess if essentially, I mean, I'll just break it down. I guess if the government can't go to war with Russia, they're gonna, I guess, maybe go to war with us. And the reason I say that is they're literally warning that the power grid could be targeted in order to accelerate a coming civil war. So you see how they tried to get a war with Russia, between Ukraine and Russia. That's not working out in their interest, and so now I guess they're turning themselves inward. So, man, and that's just the beginning of it. I've got a lot of stuff to cover, a lot of stuff. So, aside from that, wow, I mean, I literally have so much stuff. I do need to address a couple of things before we get started, a few things. First off, I want to thank Robin for the donation that she had made. Was that Sunday, I guess? Or Monday. Thank you. You put us much, much closer to being able to pay this enormous power bill we got. So you have no idea how much we appreciate it. Secondly, it'll go from good to the bad, right? Got two kind of negative things to go over, and I please stick with me. Let me get through these things. Because I'm sure there may be some people put off by what I have to say, but we've got some really big stuff to cover, some important stuff to cover, so I'm going to try to take it easy and make this quick, like pull it off like a Band-Aid, right? First off, I actually slept on this. I slept on it, and I thought about it, and I do believe I know how I want to address it. It was brought to my attention last night that the Angry Prepper had some not so kind words to say in my regards. And I'm just simply going to say this. Debate me. Let's do a live debate. A live debate. Debate me. What I really want to do is challenge him to an IQ test. That's what I really want to do. Him and me, an IQ test. Why not? But I'm not that unfair. So debate me live, man. If you're so brilliant, if you're so smart, let's do it. Plain and simple. Next up, again, trying to make this quick, get it off like a Band-Aid. I've gotten some hate mail today due to the video that I put out today. And somebody's all up in arms that I called out drinking. And they called me a liar. They said that, and they use the same thing. You always hear the same thing, and that is, you hear these two basic things. You hear, Jesus literally made water into wine. Right? And that's one of the things you hear. And then you hear the thing about, a speck in a man's eye and the plank in, again, I can't remember verses verbatim, and it is what it is, but I can tell you what the book means. And so I did want to just show you something, plus give you a tool. If there's, you know, if you want to know about something, you want to know what the Bible has to say about something, there's an incredible tool you can use. And let me bring up my web browser here real quick here. And there's a tool, and I'm not going to spend a bunch of time. I'm not going to do a sermon. Don't worry. There's a website called openbible.info. And if you go to openbible.info and you click on the Topical Bible tab up top, you can put in anything that you want, and it will pull up all the things related. It's a great tool to use, and there's literally 100 verses here about drunkenness. I mean, 100 verses about drunkenness. It's not good. It is not good. No addiction is good, biblically. I can't even speak. My vaping, my addiction to nicotine, yeah, it's a sin. Absolutely. My addiction to coffee or caffeine, that is a sin. Absolutely. The difference is I acknowledge my sins, and I actually ask forgiveness for them. You know, plain and simple. But there is a difference between my vaping and drinking coffee and drunkenness. And there's actually, right here, there's a website called Got Questions. And it says right here, what's the Bible say about alcohol? And it absolutely is not a forbidden thing. Absolutely not. In fact, it's you know, in a couple of places, look positively on. Drink your wine with a merry heart. It says that God gives wine that makes glad the heart of men. And it discusses drinking wine from your own vineyard, right? And it even says, yes, come buy wine and milk. But there's a difference between drinking wine and being a drunkard. You are not supposed to consume enough that you get drunk. That is where you run into problems, and serious problems, to be honest. So it's not just about the addictiveness. It's also, as you see down here, and I'm just going to say this, and I'll close this part of it up. Drunkenness and addiction are sin. However, due to the biblical concerns regarding alcohol and its effects, due to its easy temptation to consume alcohol in excess, and due to the possibility of causing offense and or stumbling of others, it is often best for a Christian, and I'll say, or a Hebrew, to abstain from drinking alcohol. So, I mean, do what you wish, but, calling me a liar and telling me that I'm wrong, probably not very accurate, to be honest. And as far as the whole speck in an eye and plank and blah, 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 well, then how is iron supposed to sharpen iron? If, if we're not supposed to say anything at all, then how are we supposed to sharpen one another? Just curious about that. You know, the Father doesn't tell us to be weak. He tells us to stand firm. He tells us to be bold. And he tells us to tell the truth. He doesn't tell us to weasel away from the hard conversations. He never says that. Never says that. So anyway, I felt like that needed to be dealt with, and my apologies for the other 99.9% of the people that doesn't apply to. So anyway, let's get to this real quick. And by the way, I don't have really any updates as far as we're concerned that I can think of. Just same old. Let's see. This was posted by Casey Whalen, another fellow patriot, and he had posted on his Facebook, giving folks an update as to what was going on, because Dwayne had posted earlier this morning stating that he was arrested, and of course a bunch of people, including myself, was concerned and wanted to know why. Real quick, okay, real quick. Who's Dwayne Emmer, in case anybody wants to know? I probably said his name, or spelled his name wrong, but yeah, that's it. And I think that's it. Hang on. Let me get it. Let me get his actual spelling right. We'll try that. Might help out a little bit. There's a picture that you'll probably know, and you probably already see one or more of the pictures that were made very famous by Dwayne. That is Dwayne on his horse right there with the American flag. That was taken at Malheur National Wildlife Refuge, an incident in which he spent some time in prison as a political prisoner, basically for digging a ditch and trying to help save lives. I mean, that's the long and short of it. He was done really wrong on all that, and that's all there is to. And apparently, they're still not, they're not done with doing him wrong. So I'll just read what Casey wrote here. Dwayne Emmer was charged Tuesday, January 25th, 2022, with trespass from the Gilliam County Fairgrounds in Condon, Oregon, after corralling his horse in a stall. Now, Mr. Emmer is trying to ride his horse, and actually, I think it says it here. Let me just read. It says, Mr. Emmer had decided to ride his horse across country. It's supposed to be country, not county. From Oregon to the state of Florida. The reason for the journey was to, quote-unquote, see friends, and that's it, he stated. Dwayne slept in the adjacent stall next to his horse. Fairground staff entered the stable that morning to feed horses and noticed Mr. Emmer's horse. Dwayne claimed he attempted to calm the situation by informing the staff that he was going to pay for use of the stall. And I guarantee you that if that's what Dwayne said, that is exactly what his intentions were. Goes on to say the employee called the Gilliam County Sheriff to have him trespass. The Gilliam Sheriff Department not only charged him with trespass, but also with felon in possession of a firearm, that is, after finding out he had an 1860 cap and ball revolver in his baggage. Now, let me go ahead and continue, and I'll get back to that. Dwayne Emmer was booked and released, now back on his horse and off to Fossil, Oregon, where he may have to stay for the next 2 weeks as he is due back in court for these charges. Mr. Emmer believes under the law he has the right to have that specific revolver. He decided to include the weapon in case he encountered any predatory animals on his travels. Okay, an antique weapon. A felon, prior felon, is allowed to own that type of a device. I don't want to put the name firearm on it. Okay, a felon is allowed to own a weapon like I'll say that, a weapon like that. Absolutely. And so why he was charged with that, they're going to play stupid, but what it is typically when they arrest you, they will try to throw as many charges as they can at you and just hope that something sticks. And so that's the situation. Some of you may remember Dwayne. Many of you may not have an idea who he is, but he's an incredible man. He's an incredible patriot, and I'm sure Dwayne, as well as we, would appreciate any kind words you would have to say to the Father for Dwayne. So he's a good man. He's a really, really good man. So anyway, I just wanted to let folks know about that. Of course, some people may have been around since then. They know who Dwayne is and would probably appreciate the updates. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get right on into the tabs here, because I'm telling you, we've got quite a bit of stuff here, and I have to preface some of it with we'll just get the ball rolling here, huh? So I made a funny title for the show. Granted that. I made a funny title for the show. I get that. And there is a story. There is a story backing it, right? And I'll start out with that story so people understand why I put the stupid title on tonight's show. Italy's exiled royals want their jewels back. Okay, it's not nothing to do with family jewels, but I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Anyway, that it says here, lawyers representing the descendants of Italy's last monarch will meet with representatives of the Bank of Italy and the government on Tuesday in an attempt to negotiate the return of the crown jewels to the Savoy family, which have been held by the bank since 1946. Should they fail to reach an agreement, the Savoys plan to sue the state, Italy's Corriere della Sera newspaper reported. One way or another, the Savoy family will get the jewels back, the family's lawyer stated. So, I'm you know, it's, I just thought it was humorous. So, hopefully, if the family jewels are indeed rightfully theirs, hopefully they're returned expeditiously. So, nothing worse than losing the family jewels. Especially by the bank. That makes it even worse. Anyway, let's kick into a serious note here. This is what I was talking about. Let me have a sip of my diction here. U.S. government warns power grid could be targeted to accelerate coming civil war. That's the headline. It says here, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security has claimed that American quote-unquote extremists have designed concrete plans to attack the nation's power grid in hopes of paralyzing the government and stirring unrest. Hadn't I warned about this before? I've warned on it both ways, that this could indeed be a tactic used by disgruntled individuals, as well as this could be a false flag that's used in order to go after patriots. It could happen either way. Now, do I think that Department of Homeland Security has come across some concrete plans to attack the power grid? No, I don't. And we'll read here, it says, AP obtained a report from the Department of Homeland Security's Office of Intelligence and Analysis, which claimed extremists in the country had developed credible, specific plans to attack electricity infrastructure since at least 2020. And now, maybe if they mean by extremists, they mean themselves, well, that's a possibility. But I really don't think that, unless it's something like Antifa, and I'm not just trying to throw that name out there, but unless it's something like Antifa, I don't see this happening. You're not going to see the conservatives do this. This is not what they would do. I mean, and people can get upset at me for saying this all they want, but it's hard enough to get the conservatives off their couch to be able to show up and be at a rally. I mean, they've started to. They've done so a little bit more. You know, when Trump was running, yeah, they got up. But that was like a spectator sport for them to go and see Trump at a rally. This is a different thing. You know, not only do I not think it's in the hearts of the conservatives to do something like this, but again, you know, the conservatives haven't even shown the motivation to really get out there and do a whole lot, period. You know, they think voting's the answer. And it may be, but it's not gonna, it's, you know, just voting at the top of the levels, so to speak, president, stuff like that, Congress. You know, that's not enough. You know, they need to get involved in the primaries and all that stuff, and they need to help make sure that the people that make it to the finals, so to speak, they need to make sure that they're worth voting for. You know, I'm sorry, but Trump and Biden, Trump and Hillary are not the top people, the top minds in this nation. And anybody that thinks they are, man, I've got news for you. There's a hell of a lot smarter, better people than that. Back in 2016, the one that I wanted to see move forward was Ben Carson's. That's who I wanted to see move forward. That was a logical choice to me. But, it is what it is. Anyway, this goes on to say the extremists who allegedly belong to a range of ideologies will likely continue to plot and encourage physical attacks against electrical infrastructure based partially on the idea that disrupting the electrical supply will disrupt the ability of government to operate, the report suggested. I'm not buying it. Just not buying it. The extremists also allegedly believe that by conducting attacks against the communications and electrical infrastructure, they will actually accelerate the coming civil war that they anticipate because the attack will disrupt the lives of so many people that they will lose faith in government. No. That is absolutely as far from the truth as it can get. And believe me, conservatives know that. Okay? Conservatives are smart enough to know that if they conducted an attack like that the government would just use it as an excuse to tighten down. They know that. This is not the type of work. You didn't see the conservatives back in the 60s, I guess. 60s, 70s, whatever. You didn't see the conservatives on a mass scale bombing stuff, did you? No. But you've seen other groups doing that, and you've seen other groups doing that even to their own people so that they could claim, oh, look, we were attacked. And I know both sides do that to an extent, but not to the extent of bombing places. I mean, and again, I'm not in any way referring, I'm completely aware of what happened. What was it, in Pennsylvania? I think it was Pennsylvania. But that was the government that bombed those people. I think it was Pennsylvania. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Yeah, the government does this kind of stuff all the time. But as far as political parties, I'm sorry, you don't see the right trying to pull this stuff. You just don't. So, let's continue on, because I'm talking a bunch of smack when it comes to, which side is supposedly behind this. And so let me continue. In its report, the Department of Homeland Security cited a nearly decade-old sniper attack against the Metcalf transmission substation in Coyote, California, as an example of such malign action, which wasn't, from my knowledge, politically motivated. But though no one was injured during the 2013 incident, the attack caused millions of dollars of damage. And again, not politically motivated. According to the AP, the report also cited a more recent threat. You love how they spin this in. Cited a more recent suspected plot by white supremacist extremists to attack power stations in the southeastern U.S. following the 2020 presidential election. That is where we pulled it in. And who? The report also referred to an alleged plot by a group of suspected members of the Boogaloo movement. A loose anti-government and anti-police group that initially started as a meme. 4 people that self-identified as part of the movement were accused of plotting to attack a power substation in Las Vegas in May 2020 to create unrest and rioting through Las Vegas. You know how they do this stuff, right? I'm sure you're familiar with the big kidnapping plot that was up in, Michigan, I do believe. And turns out that, pretty much almost every single one of the people involved in the plot was a Fed. Right, that's what they do. That's what they do. When they tell you that they've foiled terrorist attacks. What you have to understand is they're the ones that set it up. They're the ones that planted the idea into somebody's head. They find some poor, unsuspecting loser, right? And which reminded me about something else. They find some poor, unsuspecting loser, and they basically convince them to say yes to some type of attack, some type of this or that, and then they start giving them, the stuff to do this, basically the material evidence, and then they charge them. And then they, parade around in the media how they foiled some big attack, and the attack wasn't homegrown by the individuals to begin with. It was homegrown by the FBI. You can always find a fool, right? It's like doomsday preppers. I have to throw it in there. I can't resist. It's like doomsday preppers, right? Some prepper channels, that's how they got their claim to fame, is doomsday preppers. And they're not bright enough to even realize that what that show intended to do was make preppers look bad. So what they did is they went through and they I'm sure conducted interviews with as many preppers as possible, and they literally picked the dumbest of the pack. They picked the dumbest preppers of the pack and put them on TV to demonize the prepper movement. That's a fact. That's a fact. And I'll let you take that however far you want. But it's a fact. We need to be wary of this. We need to be keeping an eye on it. And, I keep saying my concern, I've got a huge concern for the power grid. And I've been saying that for quite some time. And especially this winter with the talk of dark winter and all that. And it goes beyond that. If you've been coming around this show for a while, I've talked about how if there's one way that they can get the majority of people to turn over their weapons, it's to turn out the lights during winter. How many people would get on their knees? And then you throw in food shortages on top of that, whether they're truly shortages or whether they're whatever it is. There are people that are scared because of the bare shelves that they're seeing at their local stores. And that's what matters in all this. How are the people feeling? And you got people that are really, really concerned over these bare shelves. You mix in a massive power outage, man, people hand over their guns like you wouldn't believe. If that meant that they were going to get 3 square meals and maybe a warm place, there's not a whole lot. And in fact, I made it a point this past year. I made it a point to try to encourage gun owners to start storing food, to start stocking food. Do you know that the large majority of them just scoffed at me? Even when I said, what are you going to do? What are you going to do when all they have to do is wait a week for your pantry to run empty and you to get hungry? What are you going to do then? And they'd blow it off like I was some idiot. we have to be smarter than this. But again, back to the situation we're in, I can't do nothing about that. There's a lot of people, a lot of gun owners that aren't prepared. And if they lose power, if they have no access to food, what are they going to do? Eat those bullets? They're going to do whatever they have to do to feed their family, including turning over the bullets. It's just a fact. I've said it, I've long said it, that if they really wanted to go after the guns, that's how they would do it. They'd take down the grid. They've already done a good job of limiting the ammunition. And how long's it been? A couple years? That ammunition has been a little bit limited. A lot bit limited in some instances. And to my knowledge, it's still pretty overpriced. I don't think it's as bad as it was. I think there's a little more availability now. I don't know. I don't go out and buy ammo. But from what I can tell, there's a little more availability now. You can get it, but you're going to pay a premium price. So you've got a lot of people that either cut out their practice with their firearms because they can't afford to do it, or they don't have near the stores of ammunition that they did. And on top of that, a majority of those people probably couldn't make it past a couple of weeks with the food that they have in their home. Not a very good position to be in. Anyway, let's see. Okay. Gonna move on, and I've got just like a few, like 4 to do with vaccine and stuff. Vaccine, COVID, yada yada. Proposed bill aims to remove important exemption from vaccine mandate. State Senator Richard Pan introduced Keep Schools Open and Safe Act on Monday, which would nix exemptions from COVID vaccination based on personal beliefs. Pan, a pediatrician who represents an area in Sacramento, says the pandemic has caused disruption, anxiety, and trauma for families in the state, and this legislation would bring confidence and certainty to them. I'm not quite sure he really understands what's brought on the disruption, anxiety, and trauma. Anyway, you get the gist. It says what we're saying is that if you choose not to vaccinate your child, there's a consequence, the senator told the San Francisco Chronicle as he defended the bill. The proposal from Pan would also require all students from kindergarten through 12th grade to receive COVID-19 vaccinations beginning January 23rd, 2023, if they want to have in-person classes. The only way for unvaccinated students to still go to school at that point would be to obtain a medical exemption. You're talking about a year off. A year off. I'm just being honest here. We're largely probably going to be looking at COVID-19 in the rearview mirror in a year from now. Now, I can't promise you that, especially if the media can keep it spun up, but I don't even think, to be honest, the media is going to be able to keep it spun up for another 2 months. I really don't think so. I think enough people have had enough. And I think that's just where we're at. Wait a minute. Let's see, 1 second here. Let me move this to there. Sorry, I had that one in the wrong spot. Omicron COVID strain evolved in mice, says a Chinese study. And I'm not even going to go through this article. Some of these I'm just going to kind of read the headline and stuff. Try to move along through it. FDA bans Trump's antibody treatment. This is insane. This I will read a little bit of. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has revoked its emergency use authorizations for 2 kinds of monoclonal antibody treatments produced by Regeneron and Eli Lilly. The regulators said the 2 therapeutics were highly unlikely to be active against the Omicron variant. With the authorization revoked, neither drug is now available for patients in the U.S. The FDA allowed that it may in the future reauthorize their use in certain geographic regions for patients exposed to SARS-CoV-2 strains that are still susceptible to them. I don't know. I'm not a virologist. I'm not anything, but they have been doing everything they can to prevent people from using these and other treatments. It's really sad when we have these organizations, tax dollar paid organizations that are supposed to be looking out for our well-being, but have been vehement in our destruction, it seems. That's my opinion. I'm allowed my opinion. And it seems to me, and the FDA, I've got issues going way back with them. Being involved in the electronic cigarette industry since it came to the United States, I've got some pretty serious. In fact, by the way, I'd still like my shipment of goods that you seized, by the way. Thank you. I had a rather large order that was part of a big seizure from way back when it comes to vaping. And, there's quite a bit of money involved there. But to be honest, the equipment's so old. The stuff's not even used anymore. But it's frustrating, and we're supposed to trust these people. That's kind of the whole point of what I'm saying. It makes no sense. It's clown world, and it's been that way for some time. It's not just since COVID, believe me. So, the government's allowed to do that kind of stuff. That's okay. Everything's fine. And then we've got this, right? Witness at scene, and I didn't do headlines yesterday, so I hadn't been able to talk about this with you guys. Witness at scene of CDC lab monkeys crash has developed symptoms. And I'm sure you probably heard this half a dozen times by now. I'm not going to really get in deep. I'll tell you what. Prepper Dog did an incredible video on this. So I will point you his direction. Prepper Dog, I like his channel. I like him. I like his channel. I like the way he does stuff. He's factual. And he seems like a really good man. And so, Prepper Dog, great channel to be subscribed to. So, anyway, he did a video on this. He's been doing videos on this. Been doing a great job keeping up and updating on this situation. So, I'll point you there for more information. Do I think this is something we all need? Is this going to turn into Planet of the Apes? No, I really don't think so. I don't. From what it seems, just from what I can kind of gather, it seems like if this woman is indeed infected by something from these monkeys, that it's probably something, some type of viral disease that's known to the monkeys. From my understanding, these monkeys haven't even been to a lab yet to have the CDC infect them with things. They were on their way to the lab, okay? So I don't even think that they have even been infected or injected or anything like that with anything. I think the concern is just the typical diseases that run within primates. So that's kind of what it looks like. And that in itself could be serious. Don't misunderstand me. She could, the woman here could indeed have a serious issue on her hands But to say that it's going to cause, Planet of the Apes is, I think, stretching it rather far. I don't really think this is going to make it much beyond where it is, and Father forbid me if I'm wrong, but I don't think so. And man taken off heart transplant list over the COVID-19 jab. And this isn't the first story we've heard about or that we've talked about. This is absurdity. This is absolute absurdity with what's going on. Let me have a quick sip of coffee here. Oh, goodness. Done run a bunch of people off, did I? Oh, well. It happens. If I did this for money or subscribers, I would have given up a long time ago. Let's see. North Korea conducted another missile launch. Let's see. North Korea has fired what appear to be 2 cruise missiles into the sea off its east coast early on Tuesday, South Korean news agency Yonhap has reported, citing multiple military sources. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff have been analyzing the specifications of the projectiles, which are believed to be cruise missiles, the agency said. This could already be the 5th missile test by North Korea in less than a month since the start of the year. However, unlike ballistic missiles that were launched by Pyongyang earlier in January, cruise missiles aren't banned under UN sanctions imposed on the country. Like it really matters. The 4 recent launches include 2 hypersonic weapons, according to North Korea. And that, by the way, is according to more than North Korea. I mean, it's been confirmed by our own government. It's been confirmed by South Korea, I think Japan. Safe to say that they were hypersonic weapons. I don't know why that this keeps getting spun like that. They're more or less saying, well, it's just according to North Korea. It doesn't mean it's true. No, it was actually tracked by Japan and the United States and South Korea, and they were hypersonic weapons. I don't know why they try to spin it and make it sound as if they don't have them. That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry. When you report media, it should be truthful. It should be factual. It should be straight to the point. When you report news, I should say. It shouldn't be a spin. There should not be a spin. I don't know. I'll be 50 in May. Maybe I'm just old. I remember when news was news. That's all it was. You didn't have 5,000 ads for, this medicine, that medicine. You didn't have the news station itself advertising for the local car dealership. You didn't have none of that when I was young. In fact, that was frowned upon when I was young. Now it's the norm. Doubts over whether newest U.S. aircraft carrier can defend itself. It says here a $13 billion aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, is adding to the Pentagon's worries after a new assessment noted that the vessel is yet to demonstrate that it can effectively defend itself against anti-ship missiles and other threats. The report obtained by Bloomberg News in advance of its release detailed that the ship's missile interceptors, radar, and data dissemination systems performed inconsistently under test conditions, limiting the vessel's capacity to destroy incoming and hostile weapons. The Pentagon's testing office said that an assessment of key systems identified several design shortfalls not previously discovered, adding that the Navy had already highlighted areas where the vessel and its 3 sister ships could be enhanced to improve survivability. It said its deficiency in neutralizing incoming threats was apparent even though sensor systems satisfactorily detected, tracked, and engaged the targets, the assessment said. It's like a big tongue twister, the whole thing. It is what it is. I mean, basically a lot of our defense systems need an upgrade now because of the hypersonic weapons technology. And I mean, plain out, Russia and China has really spent a lot of time and money in developing weapons to get past our defenses, and been pretty successful in their attempts. At least it would appear. I mean, obviously we haven't had a war to know, but on paper, so to speak, it looks like they've got the technological advantage right now. So again, I'm not wishing war at all, because I do not think we're in a good spot. U.S. working to divide Europe, says Francis Zimmauer. So, and I probably said that name wrong. So this is where I need to kind of preface some things. Pinball Preparedness has been saying, I don't know, last few days, maybe longer, he'd been kind of, well, I'm going to use the word playing down. When I say this, I'm not meaning it in any kind of negative connotation whatsoever, because, I mean, he was correct. He had been kind of playing down this idea of this threat between Russia and Ukraine. And I actually even remember me and the Unapologetic Prepper having a conversation about it the first evening we spoke. And he had played it down too, you know. And I was like stunned. I'm sitting there trying to, why do these people think we're not going to war? Or not on the cusp of it, you know? And from the headlines today, I would say that they were onto something. I have no problem saying when I'm wrong. And yeah, I think I have been beating the wrong path with this. I really do. Now, I feel like it's only responsible for me to put this out there, especially in light of history. I don't think that there's as much of an imminent threat as what the media wants you to think. I think that's very clear, especially by today's events, or today's news, I should say. However, I would also say to be mindful and watchful for a false flag attempt, because, things like the Gulf of Tonkin come to mind. So definitely don't put that out of the realm of possibility. But as far as what the media has been doing, they've been absolutely hyping this, including RT. Everybody, the media, period, has been absolutely hyping this. And I think that's very clear by a lot of the news that came out today. So this is it almost seems like there are different nations coming out and calling out the situation. And this is the beginning of those type of headlines. Here it says, no threat of immediate Russian attack on the Ukraine, says the EU. And it says right here, no new information has been revealed that has increased fears of an immediate Russian invasion of Ukraine, the EU's High Representative for Foreign Affairs has said, as worries over a potential war in Eastern Europe remain high. So, and right here, I'll read one more I'll read a couple more. It says here, speaking on Monday after talks with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Joseph Borrell appeared to play down suggestions that Moscow has plans to invade Ukraine in the near future. Certainly no, I do not think that there is anything new that can increase the feeling of fear about an immediate attack, no, Borrell said. And I have been, and I've heard others saying this here recently too, including Pinball Preparedness. And I've been saying this. Russia's not doing anything. They are simply not doing anything. Yeah, they're moving equipment around and stuff like that on their territory. They're not right up against the border either. It's not like they're 2 miles away from the border doing crazy stuff. right? They're a little bit of a distance away from the border, and they're just doing military exercises. That's it. I mean, that's it. I don't get it, and that's why I've been saying the whole time that I don't understand why people are so concerned about what they do on their land. They're not aiming missiles at Ukraine. They're not, they're not doing anything like that. It's crazy. Here it says Germany has betrayed Ukraine, says Kiev mayor. Says here Berlin has repeatedly sold out Ukraine by refusing to lay on deliveries of guns, ammunition, and military equipment in the face of purported aggression from neighboring Russia. Kiev's mayor, Vitaly Klitschko, has claimed as tensions flare in Eastern Europe. And here we are again hyping it up. And it says, writing for German tabloid Bild on Sunday, the former heavyweight boxing champion said there is great frustration in Ukraine over the fact that the federal government continues to stick to its support of Russia's underwater gas pipeline. Klitschko added that Germany's refusal to supply defense weapons to Kiev and its blocking of other states from handing over arms has also caused significant disappointment. A recent report in the Wall Street Journal alleged that Berlin was preventing Estonian officials from providing German-origin military hardware to Ukraine. I don't think they want to get anywhere near it. I think that they are trying to stay out of it. And, does this whole gas pipeline and does, their need for energy play into this? I'm sure it does. But they're not the only ones that are wanting to stay clear of all the nonsense that's going on. Not the only ones. Even the U.S. is backtracking on talks of the Russian invasion at this point. And that's what I'm saying. It almost seems like, with the release of the other report that I covered about their, this white supremacist plan to take down the power grid, right? It almost seems like, we can't get a war started in Russia, so let's try to get one started at home. It almost seems like that. But anyway, this says U.S. officials appear to have backtracked on claims that Moscow could be on the verge of ordering an invasion of neighboring Ukraine, while warning that the risk of escalation remains high. Speaking to reporters at a press briefing on Monday, Pentagon spokesman John Kirby said that obviously we're mindful of things that the Russians could do that would potentially give us indications of some sort of imminent incursion. However, he went on, we're not there yet, but we are watching those indicators very, very closely. At the same time, the official reiterated Washington's assertions that Russia is seeking to threaten its neighbors further and potentially violate further Ukraine's territorial integrity. Now, why are they backtracking? Well, I think they're only backtracking to save face. Because again, as I said, and we're going to be coming up to this, there are multiple countries that are speaking out, saying, hey, leave us out of it. We're not even going to get involved. Leave us out. And I believe this next article is one of those. NATO member will withdraw troops in event of war with Russia, says the president. It says here, with tensions growing on the border between Russia and Ukraine, Croatian President Zoran Milanovic, and I'm sure I'm saying his name wrong, not intentionally, has announced that Zagreb will pull out its troops out of NATO contingent stationed in the region should the situation spiral into a full-scale conflict. Speaking on Tuesday in a televised address, the leader said he sees reports that NATO, not a separate state, not the U.S., is increasing its presence and sending reconnaissance ships. You hear that? They're flat out saying, look, no, it's NATO that's escalating this. So, I mean, that's Croatia. Hang on, let me grab a sip of coffee. And now even Ukraine, right here, dismisses suggestions of imminent Russian invasion. Says despite increased fears over a possible Russian invasion of Ukraine, there is no indication that Moscow is planning to launch an offensive in the near future, the defense minister in Kiev said on Monday. Speaking to Ukrainian TV channel ICTV, owned by billionaire businessman Viktor Pinchuk, Alexei Reznikov dismissed the possibility of an impending Russian offensive. As of today, the Russian armed forces have not formed a strike force that would suggest that they will go on an offensive tomorrow, he told the news channel, also rejecting suggestions that Moscow will invade on February 20th, the day of the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics end, calling the chances not high. So, I'm really thinking that these countries are starting to see these other nations kind of back away from this and say, hey, we're not even going to touch this with a 10-foot pole. And so I think what they're seeing is there is not the international support that they need to pull this off. And that's why I say, if anything, keep an eye out for a false flag. Keep an eye out for a Gulf of Tonkin type of incident, because that's how they work. You know, I've got my beliefs about 9/11, and, I firmly believe that was done to garner public support to be able to invade Afghanistan and Iraq. I firmly believe that. And they're not beyond it. I mean, time and time, what was it? The USS Liberty, if I'm not mistaken, was also an incident that involved, Israel? And they used that as a prelude to war. So, I'm telling you, they aren't beyond doing it. So I would say keep an eye out for that at this point. I definitely wouldn't be concerned with Russia just invading Ukraine. I don't think that's on the table. Here it says Russia and China stage joint military drills. Kind of a nothing to see here thing. I mean, what are we supposed to be up in arms about it? I mean, how many drills have we been performing in their neck of the woods? It is what it is. U.S. says it will refuse all security concessions, not confessions, proposed by Russia. So here it says the U.S. will not make any concessions to Russia on potential security guarantees, and the only possible way to make bilateral agreements will be mutual steps to benefit both nations. Yeah, as if, right? The U.S. State Department said on Monday. Talking to gathered journalists at a press briefing, State Department spokesman Ned Price also added that Washington would consult closely with its partners, including Ukraine, before making deals with Moscow. His comments come less than a week after U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, in Geneva for consultations on security guarantees. So, seems to be a lot of kind of walking back, but trying to play firm going on. Russia warns of consequences across Europe if it's cut off from SWIFT. You know, that's a given, in my opinion. NATO won't send combat troops to Ukraine, says Stoltenberg. So even they, are backing up. Says here, NATO is finalizing its own response to Moscow's proposal about European security, and it will send it later this week in parallel with Washington, the alliance's Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said in an interview on Tuesday. The alliance is willing to sit down and discuss arms control, disarmament, transparency on military activities, risk reduction mechanisms, and other issues which are relevant for European security, Stoltenberg told CNN's Christiane Amanpour. So, I will read this here. It quoted, we are also willing to sit down and listen to Russian concerns, but we are not ready to compromise on core principles, including the right for every nation in Europe to choose its own path, including what kind of security arrangements it wants to be a part of, he added, which, boil it down, he's talking about whether or not Ukraine being a member of NATO. So, and here Congress seeks to spend $500 million of taxpayers' money on Ukraine. Why? Because you wouldn't think that your taxpayer money might go to help you in any way, would you? And legislators call for a showdown with Russia at sea. I'm telling you, you've got some serious war hawks in this government. And just like I said to other YouTubers the other night, when they're willing to put their kids on the front line, then I'll give a damn what they have to say on it. Until then, don't be sending innocent people's kids, innocent people's innocent kids to die on a battlefield over resources and a bunch of BS. Hang on, I've got a headline I want to get out real quick so it's up there. This one's caught my attention because it has to do with an F-35. So that had a mishap, as they call it. A mishap. I love it. As if, right? Alright. Let me have a sip. You know the drill, contract, whole thing. Yikes. Yes, all lanes of I-255 closed near Coke Road due to fatal accident here local. So, well, not local, but across the river. I'll tell you what. I gotta hand it to the unapologetic prepper. To hang in there for a 2-hour live show, that's impressive. I gotta say that. I have got to say that. It's it is a challenge to be able to spend 2 hours talking in a significant manner, not just throwing out a bunch of BS, That's an intelligent individual right there. Let's see. Judge rejects New York COVID mask mandate. These first couple are from last night. Or actually, first few, I guess. Yeah. At least 8 dead and 40 injured in football stadium stampede. That happened in Africa, Cameroon. Proposed bill aims to remove important exemption. Oh, I covered that. Sorry. I'll try not to do that. Okay, here is starting the headlines I put out this morning. Gay Catholics come out. I kind of see a conflict of interest there, but anyway, demand the church accept them. Good luck with that. But it is this new world thing, so I would imagine you're probably going to see that happen, and I'm just being real honest with you. Afghan evacuee found guilty of molesting 3-year-old in the U.S. Biden clears the air after insulting reporter. As if. You mean the media's trying to save its ass? That's what you mean. New York City to bring back anti-crime units disbanded during BLM protests. Covered that and that. There's going to be a lot of them we covered. So, Russia could designate German murders as genocide. A Hong Kong leader gives reason for not wearing mask. Yeah, because you're, above everyone. I think we need to take their stages away, and I think we need to take their podiums away. Seriously. Take away their ability to stand up higher. And I know people want to see them. Too bad. Take away their ability to stand up higher. And believe me, there's a psychological effect that happens. They don't deserve that. They don't deserve to be on an elevated platform in front of a podium behind a seal. Not at this point. No threat of immediate Russian attack on the Ukraine. Oh, I covered that. Sorry. Heavy snowfall causes major disruptions in Greece Turkey, and Iran. Covered that. Met Police launch investigation into Downing Street parties. Lock her up. Oh, lock him up. Something like that. Boris Johnson's birthday party amid COVID curbs revealed. Tesla fights back against J.P. Morgan over Musk tweet. Bitcoin country's president jokes about his new career flipping burgers. Israeli soldier jailed for Gaza TikTok video. Unprecedented blackout cuts off millions across Central Asia. Putin makes China unity vow ahead of Olympics. Covered that. Professionalism is racist. Event to be held in U.S. University. So now, I mean, everything is. Math is racist. Professionalism, I guess, now is racist. The sun is racist. I don't know. Oxygen is racist. I don't. This is ridiculous. Let's see. Russia's finance ministry pans idea of crypto ban. Denmark in dispute with African nation over troops deployment. Let's see. A great asset while the U.S. is losing the war on inflation. It's a pretty good article. Government buys flags copyright to make it free to fly. I mean, to me, that's crazy in itself. Number of French people backing leader who won't worry about elections, says revealed. Let's see. Covered that. Billionaire predicts rise of China as U.S. empire collapses. Covered that one. That one. Elon Musk dares McDonald's to accept his favorite crypto. Covered that one. Care providers warn about job side effects from mandatory COVID jabs. Embattled beer baron takes on BBC. French expert explains why he thinks Sputnik is effective booster for COVID jabs. Navalny added to terrorist and extremist list. Proposed U.S. sanctions may cost Russia $50 billion, says reports. Covered that. From peacemaker to warmonger, tragic downfall of Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky. It's kind of a timeline kind of thing. We talked about that. First Asian country decriminalizes marijuana. That would be Thailand, which has the infamous Thai stick. Just saying. Just saying. Actually, does Thai stick actually come from Thailand, or does that comes from Jamaica, doesn't it? I think. Not that I would know or anything. Moscow warns of consequences for Europe. Oh, I covered that. Shots fired near Ukraine Security Service headquarters. Let's see. Chairman of notorious spyware firm quits amid major snooping row. A black man sues police after he was mistaken for a white suspect and arrested. Let's see. Covered that. CNN confuses Ukraine with Russia. CNN confuses day with night. So, covered that. Protesters that attempt to storm Ukrainian parliament. Oops. We're almost there. Wow. Nightclub machete fight leads to a fire killing 19. 81-year-old Pelosi to seek re-election. I want to cry. That makes me want to cry. U.S. government. Oh, yeah, this is what I was talking about. U.S. government. We covered that. About the white supremacists and their plan to disrupt the power grid. As if. U.S. Navy reveals fate of fighter jet that suffered mishap near China. Yeah, it was apparently a botched landing. So, and I don't know what happened with that, and I really want to know what happened with that, so you're going with me. The U.S. Navy is working to recover a plane that fell into the South China Sea, which is claimed by China almost in its entirety during a war drill this week that left several sailors injured. 3 Navy personnel were transported to the Philippines for medical treatment, while another 4 were treated at sea on Monday after a U.S. F-35C Lightning II stealth plane, the C, by the way, is carrier, suffered a landing mishap on deck while USS Carl Vinson was conducting routine flight operations in the South China Sea. There's 3, by the way. There's 3 F-35s. There's an A, a B, and a C. The A is, I believe it's just short takeoff and landing. It can't do the vertical stuff, take straight off like a helicopter. The B is the one that can take off straight up like a helicopter. The C is outfitted with a tail hook and I guess the launch bars or whatever they call it on the front gear, so that it can take off via carrier. So, but it also, I think the C also has the STOL capability. It just can't, and I'm not 100%, I'd have to look that up. Maybe the C can't. The C might not be able to do STOL. I'll have to look that up. But the only one I fly in the flight simulator is the B, because, I mean, come on. I mean, it's the one that goes straight up like a helicopter, and it's a bunch of fun to fly. So, but anyway, there's 3 of them. It says here that while the pilot of the plane was soon rescued by a military helicopter after ejecting, the aircraft itself has not been recovered yet. I can confirm the aircraft impacted the flight deck during landing and subsequently fell into the water, said U.S. Navy spokesperson Lieutenant Nicholas Lingo on Tuesday. Asked about the possibility of China salvaging the aircraft, Lingo said, "We cannot speculate on what the PRC's intentions are on this matter. The U.S. Navy has launched an investigation into what went wrong with the aircraft during the crash landing." At the time of the accident, Navy supercarriers USS Carl Vinson and USS Abraham Lincoln, among other U.S. ships and aircraft, were engaged in a military exercise near China as tensions between the 2 countries continue to escalate. Rear Admiral Dan Martin boasted in a statement that the drill highlights the U.S. Navy's ability to crash planes into the deck. Ability to deliver overwhelming maritime force when called upon to support a free and open Indo-Pacific region. You do know that these foreign nations are laughing at us when we make statements like this, because we literally just crashed a plane into the deck off their waters. So there's that. It's again, it's clown world. It truly is clown world. And I just want to reiterate one thing. Okay, we are over there near China performing exercises and calling them the aggressor. We're doing the same over in the area of Russia, definitely within striking distance of Russia. Okay, doing exercises. Do you see Russia or China doing military exercises near the coast of the U.S.? No, you don't. That's frustrating to me. It really is, because we keep, it's this whole fake victim mentality, right? To where we poke and we poke and we poke and we poke, and eventually somebody gets pissed off and they poke back and they, see what they did? And I couldn't be disgusted anymore from behavior like that. And the reason why is because that's been used against me on a personal level. It's disgusting. It's weak. It's cheap. I would like to think that not only that our nation is stronger than that, but I would like to think that our nation is better than that. I sure hope we find our way. Anyway, that's the headlines I've got for you. I am going to get out of here. Hope y'all have a good night. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll do it again. Hope to see you then. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.